Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our spiritual morning, our soulful morning. Let's be so grateful that finally another day has come in. A day to learn, to grow, to evolve. Thursday being the day for the Guru. So let's bow in gratitude to all our Gurus, our teachers, our mentors, our parents, our ancestors, our loved ones, and finally our masters in this realm or the other, in this dimension or the other, in this space or another, in this time or another. Let's bow in gratitude to all the gurus and the guru in us, which is our higher self. Let's be so grateful that we have been chosen as a conduit, as a channel, as a medium to fulfill our soul's purpose, our soul's journey, and to have reincarnated as this being that we are, the human being that we are, who's definitely a spiritual being. Let's close our eyes and take at least a good 30-40 seconds to be so grateful from the heart, not just because we are saying that we are grateful, but from our heart. There are so many things that we have been taught, that we have been nurtured, that we have been made to ponder over, to be nourished. There are so many diseases that have come to us, maybe could be in the form of lifestyle diseases or anything else. So many injuries we've had, each teaching us a lesson. Have we learned the lesson? Which quality of student are we on this beautiful planet, namely Earth, with the school that we had been taught? Earth is a school that we have chosen to evolve at a soul level, with the guidance of our masters, our angels, our spirit guides, our guardians. And can we do step by step and make each day worthwhile, where each day we indulge in acts of love, light, and kindness, and go deep inside and be just so grateful for all of these learnings, these lessons. We recognize all the beautiful learning and the journey that we've had. Each one of us has had her or his own challenges. And yet we have evolved and come so far because we recognize your presence in our life. Alone, we could have done nothing. It could be that we feel mentally that we are alone in this world where everybody's against us, but that is far from the truth. Everybody we are counting on may be the human beings, which in itself is not true. We may think parents have not been kind to us or they've been strict with us, but that also we have chosen at a soul level for our own growth. So may we all intentionally start looking at the brighter side of life, at the cup half full, rather than indulge in whatever we have done in the past. Could be complain, could be blame, could be feeling sorry for ourselves or whatever. Maybe let that go this instant. Open your arms and as face them towards Mother Earth, or as if you're dropping something, whatever is comfortable. You're letting go of all the stagnant energy that is not allowing you to take the leap of faith. Let it go. Feel this energy pouring from your body, out from your hands, going into Mother Earth, transmuting as love, light, and blessings. Going deep and deep and deep inside. Keep releasing whatever is coming. And if you feel the need to release it from your feet or anywhere else, do that. You're a channel, so release the energy from your channels. We all are energy beings because the universe is nothing but energy. What energy is in motion? What emotion are you feeling? Release, release, and release as much. We are all supported. We have a beautiful family that supports us. This family could be a very big family or could be of 2, 3, 4 people. It doesn't matter. Thank them this very instant. Because whatever we are, strong, tough, weak, dependent, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, ethically, it's because of us and not them. Let's start taking ownership of whatever good or bad happens to us because of us, our own karmic accounts. It may look to some people that in life, one person is more blessed than the other. But we forget that the soul has had a journey, not only in this life, but is carrying from the past life. It could be a gift from past life that he or she in this life is enjoying abundance, and you feel you're not abundant enough. But today, what we are sowing is what we are reaping tomorrow. So every day is pregnant with a possibility. What are you impregnating this moment with? So on this beautiful day of teaching, of learning, of growing, of evolving, this thankful Thursday, let's sow a seed of intention for our learning. Let's all affirm. May we all learn the beautiful lessons of life with ease, grace, and joy. Knocks and shocks of life come to us, but we'll deal them with so much of ease, grace, and joy. And they have bare minimum impact on us. And even those troubles, those pains, those aches, we take them, maybe with a pinch of salt, but we accept them graciously. At this very moment, we release resistance from our body. Resistance for anything which is not required by our body, which is not of love's light. We just let it flow. If something has come, it will go. Let's affirm. May we all have abundant love. May we all recognize an abundant love in us. May we all recognize the Guru in us. May we all recognize the wisdom in us. And may we all understand that when we ask, we shall be given. Life is such a big blessing. May we all start counting our blessings. So it is, so it is, so it is. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. If you feel the need, fold your hands and express whatever is coming from your heart into the universe, into the sacred space around you. This could be done with eyes open or eyes closed. If you have opened your eyes, and if your eyes settle on something in your room or something outside wherever you are, May we all read the cues and the signs. May we all recognize the presence of angels, guardians, masters, loved ones, ancestors who are always around us, helping us nurture, growing such a wonderful, blessed life. We are all here to create so many beautiful things. May we recognize the creator in us, the love bearer, the love nurturer in us. And let's bow down once more, with folded hands, and bless the world with infinite joy, abundance, and blessings. Loads of love and light, love and light, love and light. Keep blessing as long as you feel that you need to give out blessings and that you're a channel of blessings. And now invert your hands. Bless your heart, bless your entire body. Be blessed, feel blessed. Keep holding the area where you are aching and paining with more blessings. May the stagnant energy in those channels move. Any blockages move, and may the pains and aches be something of the past. Love, light, blessings, and healing blessings. Now, gently, you can open your eyes, and we begin this beautiful book once again, Miracles and Me. And this Miracles Happen by Dr. Brian Weiss in our morning series. And today we are on chapter number 8. 8 is also associated with infinity. It's like a loop. And our soul is infinite, it's expansive. How many lives we have lived, we do not know. How many days we have lived, we do not know. But one thing we know is every soul has an essence, and we are all one of a kind. Dr. Weiss says, some stories defy each categorization because they touch on new or rare concepts, on modern physics or parallel universe, on future lives, or even on psychically turning babies who are in the breech position prior to birth. The cases in this chapter fall into this category, and they offer fascinating insights into our deeper nature and the characteristics of the soul. We are eternal and multidimensional beings in these physical bodies for a brief time to learn important spiritual lessons. Now, when we talk about multidimensional beings, please know Earth or this time and space is one dimension. Parallel to this, we are living lives in other dimensions also. Our soul is so expansive. It's not just limited to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is just one part. Like in a school, when you go, in one day you have multiple lessons. Whatever subjects you've chosen in the primary level, everything is, you're given 5 subjects plus some extracurriculars. You must attend them. There's no option of not attending them. Similarly, whether we desire or we don't, our soul is living multiple dimensions in life, which is the reason oftentimes we feel something called deja vu. Oh, we've lived this before, because we genuinely have lived this before. When people say, when you desire something, first it's in your thought plane, and then it manifests physically. Yes, in your thought plane, you're living in actually a thought dimension. And that is expansive. That's so expansive that that turns into real manifestation. So whatever you feel, you're inviting that in your body. If you fear, you will invite whatever you're fearing of. If you rejoice, if you celebrate, you will be living that life of rejoicement and celebration, because there is a multiple dimension. So we are multidimensional beings. We are spiritual beings. That's our eternal truth. But what we have come to learn on this school on Mother Earth is important spiritual lessons. Because here the soul is playing a very important part. It's forever in the switch on mode. As the Jesuit mystic Teilhard de Chardin stated, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Spiritual beings are not constrained by the usual limits of time, space, or the physical body. This seems an extraordinary freedom, and yet, it is our natural state. It is who we are, and we merely forget this birth after birth, day after day. We forget who we are. We think I am this man or that woman, and we wake up in the morning and say, oh, now I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh, my day has this, oh, my day has. That is not what our life is all about. That is just one of our duties. But our most important duty, which we forget every day, is nurturing our soul. How do we nurture our soul? By doing things that makes us grow spiritually, which means indulging in acts of love and kindness, and not because you're doing some act of love and kindness because you have a partner or a child or a parent or somebody that you owe responsibility towards. You act out of love and kindness for people who are people, not really known to you. Allow the stories in this chapter to remind you progression to the future. So now there is something called past life regression. There's something called progression or regression in the future, whatever you want to name it. My experience was a personally moving one that occurred whilst taking the course you provided at Omega in 2007. It took place in a revelatory practice session that turned out to be a progression rather than the intended regression. My reason for attending your past life regression therapy training was to expand my therapeutic arsenal. I have a private complementary practice that offers interventions based on techniques drawn from the field of energy psychology. Along with my academic studies in the general field of psychology, I have also spent the last 20 years studying much of the metaphysical literature on healing and well being. In particular, the set material authored by the Jane Roberts. You informed me that you were reminded of this work by a question I had asked about the possibility of recall of a concurrent lifetime. Back in 2006, it was my study of such material in relation to a percentage of clients who were failing to respond to a variety of approaches I offer that led me to believe that other lives of such individuals may be involved. The practice began with the class being paired off with someone unfamiliar to us. I was paired with an American woman for the purposes of practicing the rapid induction technique. I went first as practitioner and she appeared to respond well to the induction. I proceeded to guide her through a past life recall of some detail as a pioneer in the exploration of the American West. When we reversed roles, I too was receptive to rapid induction and she proceeded by guiding my mind to a series of doors leading to past lives. I passed through a door made of frame to floor lengths of beading, which were popular as space-saving entrances to kitchens and such over the years. On the other side of the entrance, I was greeted by two beings that were physically intertwined. Their heads were cheek to cheek, foreheads higher and broader than usual, with crystal blue eyes, also somewhat larger than the human norm, but not as large as the alien face depictions commonly seen in science fiction illustrations. Their bodies appeared to melt together in a plated form, where limbs were barely discernible and legs disappeared into a tapering wisp of material. I sensed a benevolent and loving energy emanating from their being towards me. I knew that they were my guides. More than this, though afterwards I was drawn to the term oft used in recent years, guardian angels. Although I don't adhere to the religious overtones associated with this term, I had no idea as to where they might have been guiding me as they each put out a hand to grasp mine before flying out into space, leaving Earth behind us. After a seemingly brief trip through the stars, we eventually began approaching another world, a planet with an atmosphere, a blue and white globe similar to the Earth that we had left behind. We began hovering over this strange world high in the stratosphere. They still had hold of my hand, although I could sense that they were encouraging me to release my grip and drop to the clouded atmosphere below. I became apprehensive about doing so, but I also sensed that they were reassuring me that my fears would be readily dissipated if I would just trust in myself and them. What I needed to see was on the surface of the planet below. I managed to let go of their hands and begin a slow gliding descent through the clouds. Before long, the land became the land below came into view. A green carpet of vegetation, clearly of a temperature climate zone, and then signs of management of the landscape. With fields and hedgerows coming into view, instantly I found myself in a field, a pasture that seemed to be sloping very, very gently down towards a river. Although the river was not visible to me, I was standing on the meadowland of the flood plain to the river. As I took in this beautiful setting and noticed the sun striking various patches of meadow, it broke through the clouds. I became aware of someone standing close to me. He was a tall, silver haired individual with an air of distinction about his countenance. He wore pastel colored cotton robes that appeared light and appropriate for the warm ambient temperature. It was me. And older me, but definitely me. I watched myself turn and look over my left shoulder up the hill to a building about 200 yards distant. It was a chateau, a three-story building of considerable size, nestled amongst the trees. I knew it to be a place of learning, a sanctuary or retreat. I knew that I was in France, that the year was 2037, and that the me that stood before me was on the faculty of the learning establishment up on the hill. This was a scene from my future, and I was a teacher clearly at one with himself and his role. Needless to say, my fellow students were quite amazed as I recounted my feelings about the experience and my certainty that I had progressed forward to an age of 84, which what had been shown to me by my guardian angels was something that I had never consciously contemplated before. I had never considered becoming a teacher. If anything, it was a profession that I had always dismissed as hard work with little reward. The following year, through past life regression work with clients and on myself, together with further study of contemporary metaphysical information sources, I came to realize my true intent and purpose of my life to teach. I experienced an epiphany that my spiritual guides a year or so before had shown me a probable outcome if I followed up. What was I to teach? This came very quickly to me. To teach others what I have learned about the nature of one's being from my diverse studies over the last 25 years of my life. To do for others what I had done for myself, integrate knowledge from science, metaphysics, philosophy, and spirituality into solid, practical guidances on the discovery of one's purpose in the current lifetime. I now know that this knowledge is the key to leading a life of value and fulfillment. It is knowledge that is implicit into the change in consciousness that mankind is currently experiencing, says Chris Johnson. Regression therapy involves taking a patient back to some earlier point in time, whether in this lifetime or a prior one or somewhere in between. Progression therapy, on the other hand, moves the patient ahead in time, and as Chris's story illustrates, it can be equally therapeutic. It is a subject that I have written about and documented extensively in my previous book, Same Soul, Many Bodies. There are many possible futures, both our personal ones as well as global ones. Our individual and collective decisions will help determine which are realized. Although many or all may be concurrently progressing in alternate dimensions. So, this book called Same Soul, Many Bodies, we would be reading this. I'm not sure how many more days to go because we are on somewhat page number 200 plus, I think, yeah, 202. And this book is about 337 pages. So today we mark at about two-thirds of the book, right? So one-third of the book is left, which means that I would say palpably another 10 odd sessions at least, or something close to that. And then we start this book called Same Soul, Many Bodies. Very interesting book. You'll love it. Though I've loved this book because every day teaches us so much. Today, I'm sure many of you have learned something new. I have, even though I may have read this book again, but I have learned. There are many possible futures, both our personal ones as well as our global ones. Our individual and collective decisions will help determine which are realized, although many or all may be concurrently progressing in alternate dimensions. Yet, there seems to be one that is most likely or probable to happen. Here, Chris's spiritual guides for the manifestation of his subconscious wisdom are letting him glimpse the one in which he will feel happiest and most fulfilled. Having seen his best outcome, he can now knowingly connect the dots and reach the goal. His decisions in the present can actually take him to the future he most desires. Interestingly, Chris appears to travel into space and through the stars to reach France in 2037. This prospective Earth seems to be not quite physically here. Perhaps it represents an alternate dimension or reality that is connected to Earth of the current time, yet not exactly the same. If we patiently wait for time to unfold, we will meet it. However, if we can travel out of body and through space, maybe we can meet it much sooner. We travel the fast route to tomorrow. We grab the blueprint of time, and then we return to the present with this precious map. Knowing the plan and the goal, we can consciously choose a journey to our optimal future. Even if you're not able to see your own optimal future so clearly, you can nevertheless trust your intuitional wisdom to guide you there. Do not let fears or doubts cloud your vision and obscure your path. Listen to your heart. The geographical locations of our next lives are not important. The quality is a critical factor. If we are progressing to lifetimes filled with kindness and understanding, we will inevitably wind up in the proper dimensions. In his story, Chris mentions the possibility of recalling a concurrent life or one that is happening at the same time as your present one. What would a regression involving nearly simultaneous lifetimes look like? Read Dorma's story next for this possible example. So again, what we have right now seen in the story was about Chris getting progress towards his future. Now, what we are doing now is reading something where you realize, oh my lord, parallel lives exist. It's called the trilogy in time. One of my favorite and most compelling past life memories is a trilogy. I was shown 3 consecutive lifetimes that were very poignant and that demonstrated how an individual grows from his or her experiences. In the first scene, I see myself wearing the green uniform of a German SS soldier. 3 of my buddies and I are standing next to the military vehicle, which is pulled over the shoulder of an isolated country road in Germany. We are smoking cigarettes, talking, and laughing while writing a report of a completed assignment. It is cold out. I can see the white mist coming from our mouths as our breath hits the cold air. On the right of us is open farmland, which is surrounded by wooden fencing, a few cows, charming farmhouses, and the Alps in the background. On the left, across the street from where we are standing, is a pine forest, pristine and untouched, except for the Jewish camp that we have just decimated with our rifles and machine guns. A farmer had spotted a campfire during the night and alerted the authorities. We had been sent to investigate the report, and we found a group of Jewish families, men and women of all ages, and many children. We systematically wiped them all out and then proceeded to go through their belongings to see if there was of anything value that we might want. In the next instant, the scene changed. Now I am a slightly heavy-set Jewish Polish woman standing inside a woman's dormitory in a concentration camp. My little 5-year-old son is standing in front of me. It's cold, and my son is wearing a too large, costly woven sweater that is rolled up on his wrist and hangs down to his knees. He has straight blonde hair falling into his eyes. It looks like it could use shampooing. With surprise, I recognize him as my son in this lifetime. There's a loud bang behind us, and the dormitory door flies open. Cam guards barge into the dorm, shouting, "All the Kinder house, all the children out," and pushing the children along ahead of them with the busts of their rifles. Their mothers are screaming, the children are crying and clinging to their mothers. Just as a guard approaches my son, the boy turns and grabs to the wooden structures that serve as beds to hold on and keep from being swept away. My heart explodes with pain and horror as I watch him being shoved along with other children who are all taken away. Then the scene changes. This time I'm a German officer. My uniform is brown. I'm wearing heavy leather boots. I'm in an empty office. I can hear my footsteps echo around me as I walk to a desk in the center of the room. The room has high ceilings and is dimly lit by grey light filtering in from the only window. I search the desk, drawers for a stamp with which to mark the documents that I am carrying in the inside pocket of my jacket. The documents are meant to assist in the escape of Jewish individuals. I keep looking over my shoulder to make sure that I am not discovered. I sense that later I'm caught and executed by firing squad, but not before I have assisted in the escape of a large number of Jews. Oof. This is the story by Donna West. Once we leave our physical body, we are brought to our knowledge, our wisdom, and the fruits of our experience on earth on the other side. We have to face the results of our thoughts and deeds from our temporary sojourn on this physical planet. Your good and kind actions are greeted with great joy, for you have been learning and mastering the lessons that you were sent here to accomplish. Your negative, violent, and unkind actions are met with dismay. You feel the pain of those you have harmed. You understand at a very deep level that this is not the spiritual path. In future, you may repay the people you have hurt with love and compassion. You make it up to them. You make them whole and great healing occurs. The repayment is not a form of punishment on the other side. It is just learning that the consequences of actions must be repaired. In the first memory of this trilogy, Donna's behavior hurt others. As a mother in the concentration camp, she experienced what it felt like to be the victim of such behavior. The final lifetime of the three gifted her with the opportunity to again be a German soldier, but this time she reached out with love to save the life of others, even at the expense of her own life. There were no more scenes after this. There was no need. Donna had not only learned about love and compassion, but it embodied them beautifully. The lesson was super simple and complete. Donna's recollection of three simultaneous lifetimes is not far fetched. It probably reflects the shared memories of a soul group. The writer Jane Roberts, author of the set books that Christ references in the first story of this chapter, describes the ability of souls to split and to experience concurrent lives. Souls are not constrained by the limitations of the physical body. We are connected at the soul level and can share all the experience, the concepts of the Akashic records, a knowledge of all things, and the collective consciousness, a similar idea offered by the psychoanalyst Carl Jung, reflect this potentiality. Perhaps we are all emanations or sparks of the One. Perhaps we are descended from an all encompassing invisible energy. Or perhaps, as Catherine uttered so long ago, and as I recorded in Many Lives, Many Masters, there are many gods, for God is in each of us. The conscious left brain mind can often get in the way of our experiences, interrupting a spiritual encounter with overly intellectual questions and speculations. It tells us that we are our bodies, what time is linear, we exist in the physical dimension only, but when we fall asleep and dream, the grip of our conscious mind is relaxed and released, and our subconscious mind is in control, just as it is during hypnosis. For that reason, dreams are often the settings where past life memories and mystical insights reveal themselves, as the author of the next story discovered. Now, for this, it's very imperative that we have with on our bedside something called a dream journal. A dream journal does not only mean to write the dreams that we have for a future, it also means to dream journal what have we experienced in our dream. We may not recognize that experience now, but date it, time it. I woke up at 4 a.m. This is what I just said. This is what I just saw. This is what I just experienced. And when you are spiritually evolving and you go back to these dreams, you will find a world of information in these dream journaling of yours. Let's read the next story by Victoria, namely The Night Flight. About 6 years ago, my friend and I attended one of your weekend workshops. I listened and participated in all of the lectures and hypnotherapy sessions and was amazed at what other attendees experienced. Although I had no personal results, I was a bit frustrated, albeit fascinated. We were staying nearby at a bed and breakfast, and on that last night, while sleeping, I had a lucid dream that I will never forget. With increasing vibrations, I flew out of the window of the room and found myself flying over a lush green valley with houses strewn around randomly. I knew it was an ancient village. Although I did not know where it was, the roofs were thatched. I had a profound feeling that I was observing a place where I had once lived. I then came back to my bed again through the windows and the same experience all over again. This memory stayed with me because of the intensity of the vibrations. The next morning, I realized I had probably experienced a past life episode. But that rather than during the sessions, it was on my own during sleep. Therefore, the hypnotherapy had worked for me, but I must have been resisting it during the active sessions. I often wonder where that little village was, and I would love to go there, says Victoria. Past life memory fragments may emerge in dreams. They are actually memories, not Freudian symbols or metaphors. Victoria's experience was of this type, and it also incorporated elements of a flying or out of body dream and lucid dreaming. The daytime regressions, which were not particularly successful for her, may have helped her set the stage for this occurrence. I have frequently observed this delayed effect where the regression experience happens after the sessions through a dream or spontaneously in a deja vu feeling or in other ways. The mind has been made receptive and so the memory flows. Patience and practice fascinate the process. If I were regressing Victoria in my office, her dream would be the doorway that I would use to recall the lifetimes with the thatched roofs. It is to experience that it is important, not the method used to reach it. To illustrate these points, only a day after I conducted a one-day workshop in New York City, I received similar and simultaneous messages from two people who had just participated, although neither knew the other. One wrote that she had had no past life recollections at the event and had in fact fallen asleep just as she had during the previous workshops which she had attended, and just as she had every time she listened to one of my regression CDs. The morning after, she decided to play the CDs consecutively and once again fell asleep. But this time she awoke intermittently as they were playing and saw not one but many lifetimes. In the CD, I encourage listeners to visualize their past lives like a strand of pearls on a necklace. The woman had never successfully visualized anything during her many attempts at regression, but suddenly she could very clearly see her child-made necklace with different beads. It was an amazing breakthrough, she wrote, and I must agree. The other participants had also attended the workshop and had hadn't any past life memories, but she too remained patient. That night, she had a series of dreams. Upon awakening, she described, I fully understood what I needed to do in my life. It was amazing to have the clarity. I suppose my avenue of communication is easiest in the dream state. Now, I have skills to interpret them. Engaging in the meditations during the day's workshop might have seemed fruitless at first. But that very night, she had dreams that had elucidated her entire purpose in life. What a wonderful gift to be given. In the next story, Horace presents another potential method to reach conceptual understanding. I encourage you to physically engage in the exercise he describes, if possible, for doing so provides an intuitive comprehension of how incarnation can occur in the multi-dimensional universe. Jyoti, can you start without flatlanders? So we can read.
Yes, I can start. Yeah,
Thank you, my love. So flatlanders is on your right hand side. Jyoti will be reading
yeah.
it.
I'll start. I I am theoretical phys- I am a theoretical physicist with a PhD from Yale, and that I received in 1968. About the time that I had read your book, Many Lives, Many Masters, I was also reading a number of theoretical physics papers on large, higher dimensions. Some physicists now are testing for the evidence of higher physical dimensions. For example, they could test for the existence of a fourth extraspatial dimension by seeing if gravitational forces at every small distance change it to an inverse cube instead of an inverse square law. This is still speculative, but it is of possible relevance for your work in giving reincarnation a physically intuitive mechanism. To explain what I mean, I take the ideas of the 19th century author A. Abbott, who wrote the book Flatline. In that book, Abbott describes what it would be like to be a two-dimensional being and how such a being would experience a strange extra third dimension. From this point of view, consider the model of a hand. Take your hand and place the fingertips on a flat surface. A large enough flat surface would be a flatlander's universe. Now suppose the tips of your fingers represents the physical manifestation of a group of flatlanders. Their interactions with one another would correspond to the tip of your fingers becoming near to one another on the flatlander's world, the flat surface. I envision the soul of each flatlander as the whole finger itself. For a flatlander, the finger would be like a higher three-dimensional manifestation of his physical two-dimensional self. What happens when the physical two-dimensional flatlander dies? Lift your finger from the flat surface, leave behind the two-dimensional manifestation of the three-dimensional soul. As time passes, that same finger arches back down towards the plane and it plants itself at a different location. The soul, third dimension, becomes reincarnated into another two-dimensional flatlander body. The many fingers of the three-dimensional hand become like the many souls that seems to be associated with one another from two-dimensional life to the next. I have found that this demonstration gives people a much clearer intuitive sense about how reincarnation may occur. It also gives a possible physical explanation of how ESP, mediumship, pregnition, and the whole monopoly of paranormal phenomena could work. Now, all the physicists must do is find experimental evidence for this hypothesized third spatial dimension or fourth spatial dimension for us, of course, for us greater. This is a very intriguing model of the possible mechanism of the paranormal and of how physics may one day be able to explain the mystery of reincarnation and the journey of the soul. Physicists have become the mystics of our own age, bridging miracles and science. I remember the world of great physicist Albert Einstein. A human being is a part of the whole we call the universe, a part limited in time and space. He, he experiences himself in his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical illusion of his consciousness. This illusion is a prison for us. restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for only a few people nearest us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living beings and all of nature. We can use scientific principles such as those found in physics and chemistry to grasp our divine nature, just as Horace eloquently does. For example, in my workshop, I often use a metaphor of ice. I often use a metaphor of ice cubes to help explain human nature and the relationship of the body to the mind and to the soul. Imagine if ice cubes floating in cold water had consciousness. There would be discussions about ice cubes from one particular tray to another. Our edge, our edges are sharper than yours, or we cubes are clearer and more symmetrical than you are. Eventually, these discussions would lead to arguments and then to war, and we would have the equivalent of life here on Earth. But we know that we heated the water, all the ice cubes would melt. Every ice cube from every tray would be the same water. Water has always been a metaphor for spirit. The ice cubes never truly had an independent existence. They originated from water and they disappeared into it when they were heated. The essence of the ice cube was really the H2O molecule vibrating at a slower rate. As heat is added, the rate of vibration increases and the ice cube melts. The entire time, the existence was an illusion. There were just the H2O molecule, just water, all along. What happens if you keep heating the water? Eventually, this disappears, everything in steam, invisible but not empty. The H2O molecule is still there, but how is vibrating at a very rapid rate. It becomes steam merely through a transformation of the molecule. We know this because if we condense or cool the steam, it turns back into water. If you keep cooling the water and put the ice cube trays back in the freezer after some time, you'll have the ice cube once again. This is their cycle. Now imagine that you keep heating the steam, in this case, once again with heat energy as the H2O molecule energy. As the H2O molecule splits, you get subatomic particles, quasars, quarks, and other elements of these types. So even beyond the steam are more states. And as you go further and further, they become more and more indescribable by human thoughts or works. And this reflects our own nature. Here is this early bodies as we are like the ice cubes, vibrating at our slowest rate, solid, heavy. But what happens if you heat us? In our case, this is done not with the energy of heat, but of love. This is what raises our vibrations, the presence of unconditional love and the capacity to open our hearts, to live with empathy, compassion, kindness, and altruism, and to help others to reach their potential. The equivalent of the ice cubes melting into water would be our transformation back into spirit. Our true nature is that of spiritual beings. As we continue to raise our vibrations, what is equivalent of this theme? It would be whatever exists beyond spirit. Then there's whatever exists beyond that, and beyond that. So we are, in this sense, like the ice cubes. We have many dimensions, all of which are connected through the vibratory rate. We may talk about the existence of God and the higher planes, but we do not have the words or the comprehension to understand it completely. This is one reason that it is very difficult to answer the question, why did God even create the earth? What is the purpose? We cannot know what is going on at these spheres, at the equivalent to the subatomic particles in the ice analogy. What do we know? What
What we do know is that we are here and that.
I think I lost track.
Next page is already there. Please.
It's the next page. Okay. We are the physical manifestation of this highest energy. Our energy is the love, not the H2O molecule, but love. In this sense, we do not have to know all the answers. Frequently, I tell people I don't know because I really don't know the answer to some of these most difficult questions. But what I do know is that we are spiritual beings whose basic essence is of love, empathy, kindness, compassion, and altruism. These are the actions and attitudes that elevate our vibrations, raise our consciousness, and enable us to return to that home where everything is one and everything is connected. Once, as I was explaining the metaphor of the ice cubes, the water, and the steam, I was talking to an audience while sitting in a chair on the podium. I realized at that moment that sitting in the chair was connected to the idea of those ice cubes. Here on earth, the chair was solid to me. I trusted it to support my weight. I sat in it, I stood up, I sat in it again. But I was aware that at another level, the chair was composed of molecules, ones that made up the fabric, others the wood, and so on. These molecules could also be separated into these component energies. So while the chair was solid and supporting my weight, it was also molecules. It was also molecules, atoms, nuclei, subatomic particles, and even small particles, and eventually, of course, energy. How amazing that an object that I could touch and sit down is in was actually pure energy. It could probably power the planet if completely and efficiently harnessed. We are also like the chair. We are physical, but we are pure energy. So when we say that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience, these things are really happening at the same time. Only the smallest part of us in that body, most of us is not. Consciousness is not limited by the brain or the body, but surpasses them, much like the ice cubes, water, steam, and beyond steam state. We simultaneously exist in the material realm, the spiritual realm, the ones that lie beyond that, and then into the light realms and others that we cannot even fathom. Think of all the solar system, star system, galaxies, and universe that cosmologists like us are constantly being created. These are limitless and of a magnitude way beyond our grasp. Yet they are yet just the beginning. There are also non-physical dimensions, energetic ones, and ones that defy our imagination. It truly baffles the mind and brings us back to the concept that we are humans and yet that we are energy. This is a glimpse into our nature and into the nature of God. When you think in these terms, there has to be something that existed before anything else, something that had no cause, that had no precedent. When we have a chair or an ice cube, we have a cause, a precedent. There was the there was the water molecule or the water that existed before we froze it. The chair existed as trees and as plants before it was made into a chair. And those trees and plants existed in their own precursor form, perhaps in seeds. But there's something that had no precursor, that has existed forever, that is incomprehensible to us, that was never found, that never disappears. Everything else is simply different states of energy, like the chair or the ice cubes, except for this. In ancient culture, some people call this the Tao. We say the same things when we say trust the process. That means following the Tao or the way or the flow. The words do not matter. It is a concept of a wise and loving intelligence that has existed before creation, that will always exist, and that from which emanates everything else. All the ice cubes, water and steam, the chair, our bodies, our spiritual nature, and whatever lies beyond that. It is something wise, hidden, and completely and unconditionally loving that lies at the foundation of all created things. In understanding this, we are able to let go of those things that are not important: fame, success, recognition, money, objects. We take none of these with us. What we bring back are those lessons that we learned and mastered. We bring back the opening of our hearts. It does not matter if we do not understand these things completely at the present time. Our heart knows in its deepest recesses. And as we follow our hearts, our intuition, we are led back home. The concept of reincarnation and past life regression relates to many branches of sciences, not only physics. Susie in the next story discusses how she has applied this work in the field of anatomy and physiology, hypnosis and pregnancy.
So I think let's read Hypnosis and Pregnancy tomorrow if everybody is okay.
Okay, fine.
Then that will be kind of, we can continue that. Or if you want, we can read it and then we can it's not a very long chapter, so we can read Hypnosis and Pregnancy it is.
Okay. So, yeah, got it. I'm a reflexologist specializing in pre and post pregnancy sessions. And part of the reason for my trip to the Omega Institute for your 2010 training was to find out more about the urban child. One of the most fascinating topics that we discussed was how we can be regressed to being inside our mother's womb. I have done this personally and have found it to be not only very interesting but also equally moving to actually feel the emotion of such a small person before setting foot on this earth plane. Over the past few months since the training ended, I have seen 10 women with their babies in a breech position. All were around 35 to 38 weeks and were desperate to try anything to turn their babies. While working on their feet, I talked them through a visualization and I had created to help them connect with their unborn baby. It starts by having them in their mind tiptoe into the uterus where they simply talk to the babies, reassure them that all is well, and more important, tell them that mommy loves them. The women tend to stay there for a few minutes and then I bring them back, finish the work on their feet, and awaken them if they are fallen asleep. To my amazement, all 10 babies turned, each was birthed in the normal position. I know this only a small section of women, but so far it has been 100% successful. The other interesting fact about this is that an overwhelming majority of women had experienced a miscarriage before their pregnancy. If I had my spiritual hat on, I would say that the woman had not fully dealt with the emotional trauma of the miscarriage. And there was still emotion locked in the body. And that sadly the baby was picking up on it. Susie Grover. Susie Grover. Are these wondrous events, or it is that we do not yet understand the science and physiology and underlying babies turning from the breech position? I do not know that mother and baby communication is profound and real. Even during the prenatal period, Susie is helping to validate these multi-level in utero bonds, these tiny miracles. Even if our minds cannot fully comprehend the events described in the stories of this book, it is essentially that we keep them open and inquisitive so that experience and learning can occur as the next story demonstrates.
Lovely. Thank you, Jyoti, for reading for all of us.
Thank you very much for giving me the chance. Thank
you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining in this sacred space. We have read about a wonderful 10-15 pages of discovering who we are, how we are, and where we are in our life. And knowing that there are multi-dimensions, knowing that we are living a reality, knowing that every moment has a potential, and we can all bring about the shift when we start our morning on a positive attitude and a great note. So lots of love to everybody. I'm going to see you tomorrow morning, Friday morning, with yet another powerful session of learning about miracles happening all the time around us. So thank you for being here. I'll take your leave. Lots of love and light. Thank you. Have a great one.